I never wanted to be any part of my mom's plan, Mothball explained. He and Screwball were sitting at Sakura's table, eating soup with one hoof and holding hooves with the other. Well, Screwball was the only one eating anyway, since Mothball wasn't accustomed to solid food. But what was I supposed to do? He continued. I was young and I had nowhere else to go, and the hive was the only home I've ever known. The changelings never felt like family, but I get it, Screwball said, giving his hoof a gentle squeeze. No matter how crazy they are, you can't pick family. She hung her head, and sometimes you can't do anything to please them. A part of what my mother told you is true, although I was supposed to feed off your love, but I couldn't bear to hurt you. Eventually, when I kept you from you altogether. It's funny how you kept saying that one time I spent with you, the weaker I get, but the thing is, she put down her spoon and scooted closer to him. When I'm with you, I feel stronger. You do feel stronger? I still don't understand how that's possible. Perhaps I can explain, Sakura volunteered. Why, she feels no pain. She held up a card. Temperance. I spoke to you about balancing your traits, and there is more with what this card dedicates. You gain power from Screwball's love. It's true, but your love, she gains power too. And what she gives you replaces what you take. This is such a rare magic that you two make. And so what you're saying is, Mothball attempted to clarify, that instead of taking her power away, we're sharing our own? The zebra nodded. It does make sense, Screwball declared. Love is the most powerful form of chaos there is, she smirked. But although you didn't have a heart, you're big softy. So did I, the prince said. But Sakura told me something interesting. If I were heartless like my mother, I would have left you for dead. She gazed in her eyes. But I didn't. Screwball smiled and nuzzled her head into his chest. I'm sorry I've doubted you. He grinned nervously. Well, you had the reason. She then slowly pulled away and then looked at him curiously. What else do you know about Chrysalis' plan? He sighed. The night at the gala, when I returned to the hive, my mother demanded I told her everything that I learned from you. I refused, but then she threatened to hurt you, so he then turned his head away in shame. I told her, and that's how she knew that you could see through lies and that you had a baby brother, so she replaced him before you returned to Canterlot. He's alive as far as I know, but he's being held in the hive's nursery. Changelings find babies to be a beautiful, bountiful food source. Because of their innocent age, they tend to love everything they have. I would have rescued him, but I scarcely escaped from the hive myself. I tried to warn you about Chrysalis at the park today, but I couldn't risk revealing myself to her. Screwball's eyes were filled with worry. Why is she doing this? She wants revenge on your father. And what for? I'm not sure, but all this is what she could do to get him back into stone. With him out of the way and his power transferred to Chrysalis, the changelings would be free to take over Equestria. He shook his head, and she had it all planned out, and she even got the changelings to kiss in front of your father, posing as you and your mother and the other stallion just to get him angry. Screwball's jaw dropped. I knew Mom would never betray us, she gasped. Mom, she's probably gone ground me after this. She might. No, she would never let Daddy be turned into stone. My mother figured that she also had planned to pose as discord and act evil, so your mother and the other barriers of the elements of harmony would have no choice but to be turned into stone. Of course, once that's done, she intends to dispose of them and nothing could stop her. Oh no, what if it's already been done? What if we're too late? As she spoke, a frog crossed for the teapot and hopped into the windowsill, and it slid and opened and croaked. I think it's your dad's alive, Mothball observed. But we might not have much time, Screwball exclaimed. We have to warn him. We have to save Zany. We have to explain things to... No, Sakura said. You haven't fully recovered. You cannot risk being discovered. But what if I wait too long? It'll be too late. Your father is crafty and clever and cunning, and he will sense the ponies coming. It will take him time to hunt them down, but I suggest you rest until morning comes around. But... She trailed off as Mothball lay a hoof on his shoulder. She's right. You need your strength if you want to go and stand up to my mother. He then hung his head. I wouldn't recommend it, though. My mother's too clever, too. Not to mention that she has a whole army on her side. I don't care. My family's falling apart, and I have to help put it back together again. But you'll need a plan first. Yes, Screwball said with a sigh. I'm sorry, my mind is so jumbled up right now. You should get some sleep. Yeah, Sakura. Do you have a sleeping bag or something? Oh, you're welcome to sleep on my bed, the zebra offered. I will find a place to rest my head. Oh, Sakura, really? You've done so much for my family already. You don't want to. Nonsense. You're both are in need of rest, and for that, the bed would be the best. But where can I, Mothball started to ask. He trailed off as Zecora winked at him, as there was silence and the empty teacups disappeared behind the curtain. Screwball and Mothball simultaneously glanced at the bed, and then each other the blush. I suppose there'll be no more harm in standard snuggling. Within a few moments, they were lying under the covers and tight into each other's embrace. Their hooves were entwining, but they were careful not to do anything, well, you probably get the idea. But Screwball tried to get a kiss from her love, but Mothball leaned in his head with hesitation. Come on, Screwball groaned. You already know you won't hurt me. Yeah, but I don't want to risk it. At least not now. Not when you're not strongest. She sighed in disappointment. Fine. On that note, she turned her body away from him. I didn't mean it like that, Mothball insisted. I mean, now that how we're different I am to you, I just don't know what will happen. She faced him again. Why don't we find out? He started under the pleading spirals. He wanted to kiss her so badly, but he could not risk hurting her. Maybe some other day, he said. She sighed again and then gazed up at the ceiling and then looked at the same direction for a while. Neither of them had said anything. Did you know? Screwball asked abruptly. Mothball raised an eyebrow at her. Did I know what? She then locked eyes with him. Did you know how I felt about you? Then he looked away from her shamefully. I could sense the emotion from a mile away. I've always known. But why haven't you say anything? Her tone was sounding very angry now. Because I thought I couldn't return your feelings, and I didn't want to think that I was just staying with you so I could feed. Screwball then could understand that, considering on how she had treated him earlier. Sorry, she apologized. Also, I probably thanked you for saving my life properly. That made him feel even more guilty. It's okay, Mothball said with a shrug. I never thanked you. For what? From saving me from myself, he winced. But okay, that was kinda cheesy. Screwball laughed. I love you anyway. She then took his hoof and snuggled against him again, and smiled as he stroked her mane. Although he had always looked for it, hearing them so those words of his heart, which had supposedly had. What I mean is I always thought that I was a heartless creature who didn't deserve any love of my kind, until I met you. But not only that, but you showed me what it's like to have fun and to be crazy, well, a kid. She smiled. How long have you been in love with me? I was bewitched at the moment when I saw you, but what I don't get is why you love me. When we first met, you were different, and I found you interesting. And I knew that you weren't as bad as Daddy said, but you did try to save me from that manticore. I really can't explain it, but I just feel so complete with you. Screwball sighed continuously as he wrapped his hooves around her. I feel the same way. She was so happy that she finally found her prince, but her heart sank at the thought of her family. I have to make things right, she whispered. Mothball shook his head. It's hopeless. There is no stopping my mother. She was stopped before Cadence and Shiny Armor's wedding. Huh? Screwball then raised an eyebrow. I mean, your mother never told you about that? If she was defeated, I don't think she would have. Well, basically what happened is that Princess Cadence and Shiny Armor cast a spell that banished the changelings from Equestria, but they're all in this way of the Crystal Empire now, and by this time they could hear Chrysalis about everything. It'll be too late. What kind of spell did they cast? I don't remember. My mom told me a long time ago, right after I met you, but I don't remember. I just know they cast it together. Not even Chrysalis could fight it. That must have some kind of spell. If only I can remember. We'll worry about that in the morning. Right now, let's just get some sleep. As if on cue with each other, Mothball could feel her love transferred to his body, but he could also feel his love ongoing for her in return. So he could not hurt her, but that he did not have to make up for what happened. He was acting like a changeling prince, and had proven to loyalty, not just to her, but to everyone. He had to clean up the mess that he had caused, and then he knew exactly how. When Screwball awoke, she was alone, and her hoof went on to the empty space beside her. Mothball? She stepped out of bed and looked over at the hut. Her eyes fell upon a note on the table. Stepped out for a moment. We'll be back before evening. Moth MB. After a few moments after Screwball read the letter, Zecora returned with the plates of scrambled eggs. Let me guess, the young mare said. Daddy made it rain eggs? The zebra shook her head. No, my dear Screwball. In fact, they were pouring from the waterfall. Typical. The two waited hours for Mothball to return until Screwball grew impatient. Where could he possibly be? She demanded, slamming her hoofs on the table. Hush, my dear, said Zecora sternly. You must have patience. It's not like you to be waiting for ages. But what is he doing? Wayne, can't you look in the magic brew or something? The zebra rubbed her chin. Well, I'll see what else I can do. Hand me a jar of dust, would you? After Scribble handed the jar to her, Sakura scooped up the green powder and blew it into the cauldron. And then she could see a few words in the image from the brew, and Screwball peered inside and saw the silhouettes of 6 mares as she knew well. She gasped as she was hearing voices. His 24 hours are up, said the voice of Princess Twilight. I'm sorry if it has to come to this, Fluttershy. No, Fluttershy's voice cried. Just a little more time, please. You could try and reason with him once more, but it must be done. Come on, girls. Let's go find Discord. As the image disintegrated, Mothball felt a wave of panic. Oh no, they're going to do it. They're going to turn Daddy into stone. The filly rushed to the door. Where are you going? Sakura demanded. I have to warn him, or at least find Mom first, and I'll explain the things to her. I have to fix this. When Mothball comes back, tells him where I've gone. The zebra was about to protest any further when Screwball slammed the door. Mothball hid behind a dead tree so the changelings guarding the entrance of the hive would not see him. For a second he was considering turning back. Suppose he was caught, or worse, if his mother caught him, she would do worse than ground him. She would blast him into dust. Then he remembered Screwball, the promise he made, and he had proven that he could keep that as once his love was sincere. His task was dangerous, but he would face a great thousands of changelings for Screwball. Underneath the circumstances, this might be exactly what he would have to do. The prince closed his eyes and took a form of the nurse changeling. I hope my shell doesn't throw them off, he muttered to himself. The guards did not appear suspicious, with a great relief to Mothball, but most difficult task was yet to come. He took the passage at the lower level of the hive where the nursery was. He magically caught sight of the great foal in the cocoon shaped like a cradle. Despite the number of changelings surrounding them, the infant was laughing and clapping his hooves. The changelings in the meantime were feeding off the unconditional love. Now what? The prince had to think of a way to get the child out of there without causing arousing suspicion. He could have The changelings turned to him. Her Majesty, he stammered, would like the child to be brought to Ponyville. She wishes to show him off to Discord. The group murmured amongst themselves in confusion. Why would she do that? One said. When she's disguised as a child at the moment? Mothball bit his lips. Well, she wants to. She then grunted. Oh, to heck with it. His horn glowed as the changeling scattered and blasted open the cocoon. The baby applauded as if waiting for him to do it again. Mothball swept the baby in his hooves and then transferred love to him. He's actually the kind of cute, he thought with a smile. Stay where you are. The prince looked up and saw that he was surrounded by a soldier of changelings.